Future-Proof, the Cloud Payroll and HR podcast powered by PaySpace.
Future-Proof is for forward thinkers with a cloud-first strategy who want to eliminate inefficiencies, reclaim their time, and improve compliance.
We interview a payroll practitioner and HR leaders, business experts to explore how they future-proof their business. A new way of moving fast on cloud technology to win their market from anywhere on any device.
Stories about their highs and lows and actions they took in these times.
Hosted by Tammy Lewis
and Heinrich Swanepoel.
So we're very excited today to have two guests joining us, both very keen and avid PaySpace users. So I'm very excited to have both of them today as a guest. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Cape Union Mart attendees today, which is Nazreen and Brendan. So if each of you would like just to quickly introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hi, Tammy and Heinrich. Morning. Thanks for having us. It's actually an honor to be here and to be a part of this process. So I'm Nazreen Hoosen, and I'm currently the Enterprise Application Manager for the Cape Union Mart Group. And since I have a finance background, I, for my sins, have been blessed with looking after all the financial, non-merchandise procurement, HR, and payroll applications of the organization.
Thanks for the introduction, Tammy. I have a background in payroll. Coming from my previous company, I was a consultant for the largest payroll consulting firm for 8 years before I joined the Cape Union Mart family, and it really is a family. Any information streams to and from payroll and HRIS, that's where I get involved, especially from a systematic point of view.
Excellent. And Nazreen, I see I did a bit of snooping on your LinkedIn, but you've been with Cape Union Mart quite some time.
Yeah, I was a teenager when I started working in finance. Let's just put it that way. It's been over 20 years. It's been a journey of over 20 years with the company. It's actually been great to see the company grow. When I started out there were only 17 stores.
Yeah, 17 stores today. It sounds quite big then, but today I think you're over 300 stores, if I'm not.
So, yeah, maybe just to give you a bit of background about Cape Union Mart. So the Cape Union Mart is a privately owned organization. It was started up in 1933. And currently still we operate with that same core family values. We live by our culture, which is one of trust, innovation, and passion. Since we are a medium-sized retailer, we are just shy of 300 stores, and that is across 5 chains. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Cape Union Mart being the biggest one, and then the Old Khaki, Poetry for the ladies, Trade & Miller, which is specializes just mostly in shoes and accessories, and then our baby Kido. So these brands have a national footprint. So we have stores across South Africa, we have stores in Namibia and Botswana. And then while retail is the core of our business, we do have 2 factories, Kway and Kido, and these are quite key in our organization in supporting local manufacturing and making good quality homegrown merchandise available in our stores. And having our own factories is kind of key, and especially been beneficial over the last 2 years when bringing merchandise into the country was almost impossible with the current situation of COVID. Then we have another special division. It's called Sparks and Ellis, and they specialize in uniforms. And that's very different from retail and then the manufacturing as well. Yeah, so they kind of work tenders, and they do quite a bit of government work and special uniforms as well.
Wow, that's interesting. And I'm an avid fan. I've always been of Cape Union Mart. It's so weird. It's for me, the funny thing is I've known about the brand for some time, and I think most men enjoy this Old Khaki logo. But it's weird how the company has transitioned and taken new fields. But funny enough, I think 1 in every 4 people I walk past has got a KY jacket on. So that's always quite cool to see. And there was quite a nice story at some stage. I don't know who told it to me, but the actual KY, I thought it was an international brand, and where the Mr. K or KY came from. Can you maybe shed some light on that?
Yeah, so the company was founded by the great-grandfather of the current chairman, and Mr. Krawitz was like, his way, K-Way, and that's where the K-Way brand stemmed from. So K for Krawitz, and yes, it's local, and you can find the K-Way factory out in Ottery in the southern suburbs in Cape Town, and that's where a lot of the technical garments are manufactured.
I like that saying, Hunter, the K way. I think I should also establish my way or the highway. I like that. I can tell that it's quite important for you guys to be homegrown, locally supported, and I'm a huge supporter of that as well. To make sure that everything that you do is proudly South African, make use of the talent and creativity and infrastructure that we have as well. How has this changed a little bit? I know taking on a bit of a cloud strategy has been a focus for a while. Has that been something that has been a recent focus, or is that something that that has been coming and growing for a while?
I'd say for the last 5 to 6 years, it's definitely been our strategy to move more to a cloud-based platform. Currently, we still have a bit of a hybrid platform, so we do still have some applications that are on-prem, but we're definitely seeing the benefits of having cloud-based applications. And retail is ever evolving and things change daily. So our IT framework and our infrastructures and our applications, they have to evolve and be agile to support the retail industry. And cloud-based platforms support this strategy for us. And it alleviates a lot of in-house work. We do not have an IT department of hundreds of people. So going cloud-based has definitely supported the strategy.
And Brendan, just from you saying this cloud strategy, Nazreen, and moving a cloud strategy, what are some of the things you're seeing as a hybrid? Because we always chat about it in marketing and saying, or books, they said books is going to fall away, and it hasn't. There's going to be a hybrid regardless.
No, definitely. Definitely. I don't think we could go 100% cloud. There will be one little application that is best of breed and has kind of worked. So why replace what's not broken? But at the same time, it's got to support where the business is going and where the business is moving. So recently we have replaced our core merchandising system as well. And we've gone fully cloud in that area with our merchandising system and our warehouse system. And it kind of just aligned with PaySpace as well coming aboard and also being fully cloud. So we're definitely moving towards reaching our strategy and our goals in terms of becoming a cloud-based organization.
Yeah, being a private company, security and especially financial security is of utmost importance to us. Our internal policies and governance are something you can't believe. But sorry, I'm getting all tongue-tied here. So our internal strategies and our internal financial security, being a private company, is something to behold. It's any data is locked down to such an extent. So moving to the cloud there's some apprehension, but knowing and seeing the security that the cloud solutions offer now in this age, it's not what we thought it was, and it's evolving to an incredible state with the security beyond what we had before.
If maybe I could just add as well, Brendan, how cloud has changed for me personally. Before we had to prove so much of security with our IT audits. Now all I do is get a certificate from the vendor and supply that to the auditor. So that saves us like days of checks and verifications and proving that our system is secure and that our data is secure.
Yeah, it takes that audit, it actually literally takes that audit away. It's showing a certificate and saying there was a penetration test, there was this.
Definitely.
And it's very interesting because we're getting hammered at the moment just from a PaySpace side quite regularly on these technical questions. And luckily we've got Stuart and Warren sitting in these meetings and addressing these questions, because sometimes I'm thinking, where do these guys get these type of questions? And I can't think of being audited and going through that, I want to say, rigorous task of understanding what they're looking for. And then it's probably happened to you guys because you're sitting in that IT environment where you're looking for something and you realize, shit, but I didn't do that check or that balance, or I didn't test that, or
Definitely. And having both on-prem and cloud applications at the same time, you can kind of see the benefit of being cloud, because when it comes to audit, there's so much more that you've got to do for that on-prem environment and provide for. So we can see where we're scoring there.
So moving on, this is quite difficult sometimes to elaborate and just say what cloud has differentiated from a legacy or on-premise software. But is there a way that you can give us an idea number-wise or time saved with a cloud application and with I want to say not something that's on-premise?
Well, if you could look at no more backups, no more maintenance, no more hardware, storage is it a whole different ball game, and no more database crashes that we're responsible for and to recover. So being on-prem, all of those things does take up a lot of time. It's difficult to quantify because we have various applications across the organization, from a budgeting tool to a reporting tool to our that all integrates into our big ERP. So it is a bit difficult to quantify, but definitely there's definite benefits. We're definitely seeing it.
And then I'm always curious to ask this question with the backups and the servers and making sure that everything is checks and balances. I know that is normally a task of great proportion just to get that right. And I know from an admin point of view, that's my worst nightmare, making sure that everyone's logged out of everything, that you can do that backup and then make sure everything's secure. How was that process? Were you involved in that? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so with our backups, our infrastructure team, they used to manage the backups, and they still both manage the backups for the current on-prem environments. Trying to schedule the backups for all the different applications, that is the biggest challenge. So fortunately, it wasn't done manually. We got to a point where they were scheduled. Nobody had to sit and manually do it. But finding that sweet spot that you're not interfering with another process that's running. And being in a retail environment, we can't have any downtime. First thing in the morning, executives want to see the performance of the day before. So every single sale has got to be processed. So even nightly hours are quite crucial for us in our organization to run automated processes and updates and checks and balances. And one of those processes is the backup. So finding the time for the backups, that I would say was the biggest challenge, and making sure that those backups don't overrun into another key process. And then also the backup tapes, they had to be collected on a daily basis. So that was like another function. You've got to schedule time with a backup vendor to come and collect the tapes, because the tapes had to be stored off-site. And God forbid we have a database crash, we need to get back that tape. And that's a whole other process as well.
And the team in general, because Nazreen, Brennan, you guys, it's just not, you've mentioned how there's different teams working in different things, but how big is this IT team?
So currently our IT department, we are just under 50 team members, and we service the entire business and all the chains and all the other subsidiaries. So we don't have in-house development. All of those happens with the vendors currently. So that's why we're not as big as other retailers who have hundreds of people in their IT department. We did go from a very small IT department to almost 50 people very quickly. And also the skill that we required was different from, I'd say, 10 years ago. So of the last 5 years, we've definitely grown quite rapidly, and we've definitely ramped up on skill.
It's quite interesting seeing, I was sitting with Microsoft yesterday, and I asked them about sort of data and how we can get more insight out of data, because PaySpace in general has got information from 2007, and it's more sort of data I want to use from an aggregated purpose to see how females has entered jobs in the last 20 years, or how finance people or developers got paid 15 years back and being paid what they're being paid today. And something that's interesting is the fact that if you look at payroll was always the main driver, and then HR steadily sort of surpassed payroll at some stage, and we still get it to asking, where does payroll belong? Do they report into finance? Do they report into HR? But IT in general has also grown literally, I think the last 6 or maybe last decade, in a way that it's sitting with the COO. It's literally sitting on that board and becoming so important in having that team to. In retail, I think it's a different ball game. But just in general, how that positions has grown, and maybe just from a question perspective, you've said now different skills, but your job in general, has there been any change since the move to the cloud?
Oh, definitely. So the one I've already mentioned, audits has become a lot easier. I just need to supply a certificate now. Our weekly updates and enhancements, automatic filing of various statutory returns, and then, from a current payroll environment, the availability on mobiles and all devices. There's more time to do the value add kind of stuff instead of making sure that the system actually works, making sure that the core function has processed correctly. So instead of retrospectively mopping up every month, we kind of evolved and things just happen quicker because everything's automated. It's easier to check. And less time focused on fixing and doing retrospective fixes because all the updates are done for us.
From my side, I say because the system is available in real time, you don't have to be at the office, don't have to even be logged onto the VPN or APN. You just log on at any time. And on more than one occasion, I've actually had to log in a pinch. I'll be away from the office and it's outside of hours. Logging in on my phone and making config changes, security changes, I'm right there from my mobile device, just authenticated through our network. Audit trails are on every screen. So when I get any queries from my internal customers, there's no lengthy investigation to see what happened, where's finding the root cause of the problem. I can see if it's what the problem is or if it was an input error straight from the audit trail, and I can even do that on my phone. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, I'm not sure how good a thing it is that we can do so much from our cell phones these days. You never switch off.
And the bad thing is if you lose your cell phone,
Oh, no, don't even go there.
And Cape Union Mart, starting back in 1933, sort of that payroll department and the payroll softwares that you've gone through, how's that journey been? Because I've seen Cape Union Mart, and maybe you guys can give us better insight, but as I want to say early adopters, at the little bit of engagement I've had with Cape Union Mart, but as an early adopter in specific products around payroll, maybe the whole company has got that mindset, but that's my feeling, and I don't know if that's correct.
I think like in any organization, there's a huge reliance on payroll. It's people's salaries after all, and that's the one application that touches every single employer in the business, from the chairman right down to the last person. So payroll's got to be spot on. We've got to be accurate, and the data's got to be trustworthy. And we've had a journey of quite a few payroll applications. I can recall, just off the top of my head, I stand under correction, but PaySpace is our fourth payroll that I'm aware of. We initially started with where the banks did it for us, and then we moved on to a few different applications. And over the years, we've been scarred. I'll be quite honest. We've been scarred. We had some good implementations, and we had some really not so good implementations. And the journey wasn't always rosy. We were always having to prove that the payroll is correct, or having to fix something and kind of earn the employees' trust again to make sure that, they're not doubting their pay slip or they're not doubting their leave balance. And moving on to the latest application, I think, Brendan, you can back me up here. We've won that battle.
I do believe so. I don't find myself having to try and prove that the system's right. I can see the system's right and I can show it at any given time. I can stand next to you with my phone and show you, look, everything's right. And every time when I've looked and found a problem, it's been due to input errors or linking errors, things like that. And where we've adjusted process, it's very simple to align as well. So we've finally got a system that supports our process and not the other way around.
Yeah. Brendan, you mentioned input. So, I think that's also a big one. There used to be a lot of manual input going into the payroll applications, but we've been able to integrate so much via APIs that we're saving so much of time. While being a private organization, I can't disclose it and values that we currently save, but definitely time. If I just think off the top of my head, I would guesstimate that it's probably 3 to 4 days that gets saved in the month. And that time is spent focusing on the more important stuff, making sure that everything gets out quickly, reporting, because reporting always comes like at the tail end. Yeah, Brendan, maybe you can elaborate a bit more on the actual detail in terms of the payroll process and where they're saving time.
Thank you, Naz. Yes, I'd say both time and money saved. We're starting with downtime to do recalculations. Just a recalculation which we do every month, maybe more than once a month. A small change on the payroll needs another recalculation. It takes around 6 hours. So recalculating, printing of digital payslips, not printing physical payslips, posting ACBs, updates and licensing, just the recalculations, printing and ACBs, plus import of leave took us around 3 to 4 days every month. That takes a matter of minutes now. So it's not something that you have to go and do a physical recalculation and everyone has to wait. The recalculations happen and we carry on. And 2 people can work on the same employee at the same time even, and it just updates as you make changes. It collates all the information. It makes a huge difference. There's no downtime for server maintenance. There's no downtime for system updates. We don't need to pay vendors to do updates, external updates. So really massive difference that's made to the payroll department and HR as well. With the reports being available, it means that I'm free to do other things instead of wasting time doing reports, which should be standard. So using that time to focus on the things that really matter, evolving the system, making it, as our previous HR exec said, make it a sexy system. And that's where we're going. We want to give them a sexy system. And we're getting there.
Oh no, there's no going back after this one.
In terms of the input that you've downscaled and making your life a little bit easier, do you also make use of integrations to different systems just to help with that ease and admin bulk as well?
Give an idea, the payroll, or HRIS, should I say, is the absolute core of everything. So our data goes from there to AD, it goes to a point of sales, it goes to every reach in the business for attendance, for security, access control. I'm actually nervous to say all these things because of data breach potential, but I do believe our security is incredible, and even more so now that we're in the cloud from that front. But yes, we integrate with a multitude of systems, and they're all reliant on that data being accurate. So the information going to stores, if that's not done timelessly or accurately, people can't log in, they can't make sales, they can't they can't start their computers. People in head office can't support their customers internally or externally if they can't access their systems as well. Sales aren't rung up correctly or not rung up at all if there's data misalignment. So integration is incredibly important to be done timelessly and accurately.
Yeah, maybe just to add on to that and reiterate the importance, and that it is the starting point of the employee's journey with the company. And if you're not loaded correctly on the HR and payroll system, you don't have an AD account, which means you cannot access anything in our organization. We do have a single sign-on policy, so it all starts with AD. And integration is key, and we do integrate from the HR and payroll environment to multiple applications, from our point of sale through to our finance, through to our merchandising and our warehouse applications, and even just making possible for somebody to just log onto their computer and start the journey with the company. So it is key, and it's the starting point of everything.
And I think in today's environment, and it's just the world that we're living in, there isn't one product that's going to do everything. You need this combination of best of breed products that becomes like an API-centric software that can actually sit within different softwares and talk to one another, and then being secure in that purpose. Just from, I think it's been almost close to a year and a half of this pandemic running, and companies changing their remote working policy, working from any time. I think a lot more back-to-back meetings, and retail has kept on going. How has Cape Union Mart in their operations sort of evolved and work with this pandemic?
Fortunately, being in retail, we've got experience in being agile. We've got experience with going with the changes and changing quickly. So we had to just adopt that very quickly. And I think you guys know from an IT perspective, it probably is easier to work remotely than other departments. So the policies kind of vary from department to department depending on your functionality. It's easy for IT and finance or service-based teams to work from home, but you can't have your salespeople working from home. So we kind of had to, with a full hard lockdown of level 5, we implemented enhancements to our websites, and we turned on online, pumped it very quickly, and everybody just pulled together and made it work. So we definitely pushed online quite big there. And policies had to change around working hours, flexibility. But having said that, as I mentioned before, our culture is one of trust. So we're not clock watchers. We don't watch what everyone's doing. We kind of have the attitude of get the job done. Your performance is measured on your productivity. And like you mentioned, back-to-back meetings, yes, it did become a challenge. And the workday kind of never ended. But because we are looking to be the number one employer out there, we kind of force work-life balance, and we try and make it possible for people to not sacrifice their family times. So you've got to also just learn to practice self-discipline.
And self-discipline is critical. I think from my side, I get in, I don't want to say in crap the whole time, but I love working. So I need to switch off at some stage and just spend time with my wife and kids before I get a smack. But it is true that micromanagement, and it is something that people feel it. As soon as they feel it, they feel sort of enclosed, and they're not giving their all in selling. But yeah, no, it is core to a business.
Yeah, that's definitely core to business. I mean, without that autonomy, it feels like micromanagement, and then you end up, instead of having someone who's working because they love it, you end up getting just compliance, and it's not what we're about. We work as a family, and we have trusting relationships throughout the business, and that's what really keeps us going and separates us, I think, from other companies.
What we did find is that with, we could call it older teams or teams that are used to working together, they worked very well and currently still do work very well remotely. Obviously, it's been 2 years, so we do have a lot of new employees, and it's been unfortunate that they couldn't actually feel the culture of the organization working remotely. So we're trying to find a balance to make sure that they learn the company culture and they can actually feel it. And the company strategy, working remotely has its ups, but it also has there are the down factors as well in terms of team dynamics and collaboration across teams. I think we did pretty well because we implemented our merchandise and WMS, which is a warehouse management system, in full lockdown. So I think we buckled down and got there.
And payroll.
And payroll. Don't forget payroll. But payroll was so easy. I can say that now.
Yeah,
now that it's done.
It was less challenging than I anticipated, though. I definitely agree. It wasn't without its moments, but it went exceptionally well.
I think just to get back on topic,
but I remember
something that
when
you've
you guys actually
mentioned is
signed,
managing that
my team was
expectation
like, the
with
implementation team was
newbies,
like,
with your team
they want to
culture,
kick
your
off, but they
company
only want to
culture,
start
and
in
really
September,
driving that
October. We can start
family-focused
now and finish
business,
it and get them live.
and
They said,
just
no, we
trying
want to go
to
the slow
bring back
approach,
that
make sure
human
everything
element.
is
I think
alive.
that's something
And they
that we
asked me,
kind of
but
lost
No,
why
over the
do
year
they
and a half
want
we
that
that?
I
burnt our
see in
fingers
my
like that.
everyday life as well.
Or we thought we could do
I'm
things.
like Heinrich as well. I love my job to the point that everything is organized, and my personal life is this chaotic mess at this stage, simply because I don't want to go and engage with crowds at this stage. So you kind of lose that personal touch with team members as well, and just having that self-respect or that respect towards the other people as well. But I think you've done a great job. And internally, I can see with our teams as well, they've loved working with your teams. So I don't think you should doubt your company culture as well. It's rubbing off on the companies that you work with as well. So I think that's something well managed and something to be proud of as well.
Thank you. That's really great feedback. We take culture eats strategy for breakfast is our CEO's motto, and I know it's said largely throughout a lot of industries, but we live it, and it's from the top down. We are busy relooking at how we can make the culture better, because we are all about our values center around family values and passion to improve lives. Trust, innovation, and passion are the center of our core values, or our values of our company, and it's incredibly important to get those three things together, because you can branch out to so much more, but centering to those 3 points, it brings it home. And with trust being the center of everything, I mean, if you have to take payroll, for example, if you had to summarize payroll into one word, that would be trust. And without an effective trusting payroll, you've already lost one of our core values.
I think you found Brendan's passion when you started on the culture conversation. Brendan is one of our culture ambassadors.
But it's critical. I can see it, and just out of my job experience now with PaySpace, I've been here 2 years, and the company was always a software company, and it was driven by software. So our MD explains it like it was an Apple company. And with Apple, they say normally the problem is between the Apple and the person. And with Dell, you can phone IT. But we were a software company, and I think we're still a software company. But Sandra said, and her vision is just services is such an important part of any business. And in retail, I think it's probably, like you said, that culture, that trust is more than 50% of that values, because if you don't have that, they sort of that front line, and they the business in essence. But that's something we've also started generating more, and we can see it, sort of that culture coming in. And Brendan, you've taken our last question already, but I'm going to take it as trust. But Nazreen, just from your perspective, if you were to describe payroll in a single word, what would that be?
I actually can't think of anything else besides trust. Definitely sums it up. It's trust in all ways you can actually think about it.
I like that. I think that's a good takeaway of that. Sorry, Brendan.
One last thing I wanted to add is it wasn't an easy decision. It was a fairly easy decision to decide we need to make a change in terms of what we were doing in the payroll and how software. We did a major analysis of the upgrade that we were going to go through, most of this off the record, but from here, it was about 6 to 8 months of analysis of all the systems available with a local statutory compliance as a core. After going through that, we narrowed it down to a few systems and finally down to 2 systems. There was it was close between these 2 systems, and it could have gone either way and would have served us well. But the culture of PaySpace was the kicker. Throughout the business, we could see a cultural alignment, and we loved that about the ethos of PaySpace.
Yeah, the fit with the customer and the vendor is definitely key. You can see that with all our applications as well. Yeah, we deal with lots of vendors, even abroad. And if that culture fit is there, it just makes it so much easier.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you so much. I want to share one last story. One of our shareholders or one of our founders, Clyde, he actually sent me a WhatsApp. I think it was on the beginning of August somewhere, where he said he just walked in with his PaySpace buff into the Cape Union Mart at Canal Walk. And they recognized the buff and gave him 10% discount, and also asked if he could do some backdoor editing. And he was so chuffed. He sent me pictures and a photo. And, but yeah, I said to him, for that amount you were spending, I would have asked for more discount. But he was very chuffed.
I think our change management paid off. We had the PaySpace banners as screensavers for our computers across the company the month leading up to go live, with the punt every day.
That's very
good. And that just got it going.
Definitely in a watch this space.
Very interesting.
This is coming. There was a lot of excitement created.
That's so awesome. Like I said, the culture is rubbing off. I think there hasn't been one, because I've been in the back end, so I'm the backstage staff. And I don't think there's one meeting where, like Hanya said in the beginning of the meeting as well, everyone's got an item that they've purchased at Cape Union Mart. One goes, I've got this in all the colours, check my fatties that I've just bought, this is my socks, so it's definitely rubbed off on our team. So you've made just as a big impression on us as hopefully we'll do for you as well.
Oh, thank you, Tammy. That's really great to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.